Today, a family member, a full family, prayed for closure after the murder of a Memphis mother was killed during a fight involving children.
39-year-old Tamara Plummer never expected that evening would be her last. As a devoted mother of four with another child on the way, she had built her life around protecting those she loved most. But when violence erupted outside her door, her maternal instincts would lead her into the crosshairs of a deadly confrontation. The chaos began with children fighting in the street. Tamara stepped outside, determined to restore peace to her neighborhood. She fired warning shots into the air, hoping to scatter the crowd and end the violence. Instead, those shots would trigger a chain reaction that cost her everything. 42-year-old Jeon Davis responded to Tamara's warning shots with lethal force. 3 bullets struck her in the chest, dropping the pregnant mother where she stood. But the violence didn't end there. 20-year-old Destiny Plummer watched her mother fall, and in that moment of pure rage and grief, she made a decision that would forever alter her own fate.
Seconds later, another woman opens fire.
When does defending your family cross the line into vigilante justice? How far would you go if someone murdered your mother right before your eyes? This is the story of Tamara Plummer, a businesswoman, a mother, and a protector who paid the ultimate price for trying to keep peace in her neighborhood. It's also the story of her daughter, Destiny, whose split-second decision to fire back would land her in handcuffs alongside her mother's killer. Stay tuned as we reveal everything about this case. I want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed violence in your neighborhood that made you feel like you had to intervene? What would you do if you saw your loved one under attack? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Welcome to our channel. Please like this video, share and subscribe to this channel to help raise awareness and spread caution. Let's begin.
Today, a family member, a full family, prayed for closure after the murder of a Memphis mother was killed during a fight involving children. The man police have arrested for Tamara Plummer's murder is Jeon Davis. He'll be in court tomorrow morning. Fox 13 anchor Jeremy Pierre learned today that Plummer was pregnant with her 5th child at the time of the murder.
Tamara Plummer was 39 years old when she died on March 14, 2024, leaving behind a legacy that extended far beyond the tragic circumstances of her death. Those who knew her described a woman who embodied the strength and resilience that defines so many mothers in Memphis's toughest neighborhoods. Tamara was pregnant with her 5th child at the time of her death, adding another layer of tragedy to an already devastating loss. Her family had been preparing to welcome a new member, making plans for the future that would never come to pass. The shooting occurred on the 1300 block of Quinn Avenue, a residential street where families had built their lives despite the ongoing struggles with crime that plagued the broader area. For Tamara, this wasn't just a neighborhood, it was home, and protecting that home meant everything to her. 20-year-old Destiny Plummer had grown up watching her mother navigate the challenges of raising a family in Memphis. She learned from Tamara's example that family came first, that loyalty mattered above all else, and that sometimes standing up for what's right required taking risks. These lessons, passed down from mother to daughter, would shape Destiny's response when crisis struck. Jeon Davis, the man who would ultimately take Tamara's life, brought his own complicated history to that March evening. Davis was a convicted felon who faced charges of being a felon in possession of a firearm, indicating a criminal background that would later become relevant to understanding the events that unfolded. Police records indicate that one of the teenagers involved in the initial fight was Davis's daughter, adding a personal dimension to what might have otherwise been a stranger-on-stranger confrontation. This detail suggests that the violence stemmed not from random criminal activity, but from a dispute between families whose children had conflicts with each other. The fight and shootings were captured on video by witnesses at the scene, providing investigators with crucial evidence about exactly how the violence unfolded on Quinn Avenue that evening. The trouble began with what seemed like a typical teenage disagreement. One of the teens involved in the fighting was Jeon Davis's daughter, which would later explain his personal stake in the confrontation. As voices grew louder and the situation became more heated, concerned parents and neighbors began emerging from their homes. Tamara Plummer stepped outside to find multiple young people engaged in a street brawl that showed no signs of stopping. As a mother of four with another baby on the way, she understood that unchecked violence in the neighborhood posed a threat not just to participants, but to every family living on Quinn Avenue. Her initial response followed a pattern familiar to many parents in similar situations. She attempted to break up the fight through her presence and voice. However, as the altercation continued to escalate, Tamara made the decision to retrieve her firearm and fire warning shots into the air. The decision to discharge a weapon, even as a deterrent, represented a significant escalation in an already tense situation. For Tamara, those warning shots likely seemed like the most effective way to scatter the crowd and restore peace to her street. She had no way of knowing that her actions would trigger a deadly response from Jayon Davis. Davis approached Plummer and then walked away, according to his own statement to police. However, this brief interaction would prove to be the calm before the storm. Whatever passed between them in those moments, it was insufficient to prevent the tragedy that followed. According to an officer's affidavit, Davis admitted to shooting Tamara Plummer 3 times. The shots struck her in the chest, inflicting wounds that would prove fatal despite emergency medical efforts to save her life. But the shooting didn't end with Tamara's murder. Destiny Plummer, who had watched her mother fall to Davis's bullets, immediately responded with gunfire of her own. 3 others were injured in the shooting, indicating that Destiny's return fire struck multiple targets in chaotic aftermath of her mother's killing. The scene on Quinn Avenue transformed into something resembling a war zone. Multiple people lay wounded. Emergency sirens wailed in the distance, and families who had simply been trying to resolve a children's fight now faced the devastating reality of gun violence in their neighborhood. Destiny's decision to return fire raises complex questions about justice, revenge, and the human response to witnessing extreme violence against loved ones. Destiny Plummer is accused of shooting at Davis after he allegedly shot her mother, according to police records that document her immediate retaliation. Davis walked away after shooting Tamara and threw the weapon in a nearby yard, attempting to dispose of evidence linking him to the murder. Police say video shows him retrieving the gun from his SUV, contradicting his claim that an unknown person gave him the weapon. The video evidence would prove crucial in understanding exactly how the violence unfolded and in contradicting Davis's attempts to minimize his role in the shooting. Modern technology, including cell phone cameras and security footage, increasingly plays a vital role in documenting street violence and holding perpetrators accountable. As emergency responders arrived on the scene, they found multiple victims requiring immediate medical attention. For Tamara, however, help came too late. Despite efforts to save her life, she was pronounced dead from her injuries, leaving her 4 children without their mother and her unborn child without a chance at life. The aftermath of the shooting left the Quinn Avenue community reeling. Neighbors who had witnessed the violence struggled to process what they had seen. Children who had been playing outside were traumatized by the sounds of gunfire and the sight of people they knew lying wounded in the street. Jayon Davis, 42, was charged with first-degree murder in the woman's death, reflecting the serious nature of his actions and the prosecution's confidence in their ability to prove premeditated murder. Davis also faces charges of being a convicted felon in possession of a handgun, adding additional legal complications to his case. 20-year-old Destiny Plummer is accused of shooting at Davis after he allegedly shot her mother, and she was charged with reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. This charge reflects the complex legal position prosecutors faced when dealing with someone who had clearly retaliated against her mother's killer, but had also endangered other people in the process. The legal distinction between Davis's and Destiny's charges tells a story about how the justice system views different types of violence. While Davis faced first-degree murder charges suggesting premeditation and intent, Destiny's reckless endangerment charge acknowledged both the emotional circumstances that drove her actions and the danger her response created for innocent bystanders. When Davis faced the judge, the victim's family was present in courtroom. Things became uneasy when the loved ones of Tamara were unable to control their emotions. They shouted expletives and stormed out of the courtroom. This emotional outburst demonstrated the raw grief and anger that Tamara's death had created within her family and community. The court proceedings revealed the deep pain that Tamara's loss had inflicted on those who loved her. For family members attending Davis's hearings, seeing the man who had taken their daughter, sister, and mother's life proved almost unbearable. Their reaction in the courtroom, reflected the very human cost of gun violence that extends far beyond the immediate victims.
Aunties, nieces, we don't go by any of that. Sisters. Always have, always will be.
It could have been avoided, but it just want the right people out there to diffuse a situation like this, you know, especially you got people like your neighbors on the phones recording and saying, don't break them up. To see my family happy, you know, and to see them at least some kind of what's wrong, because my mother and my sister, they not taking it so well. I just want them to be able to cope with the situation of what's going on. I know it's kind of hard, you know, it's going to take time, you know, but I just want to see everybody happy.
The investigation also revealed important details about the circumstances leading up to the shooting. Davis said in a statement that during the fight, he approached Plummer and walked away, but investigators found evidence contradicting some aspects of his account. Video evidence showed Davis retrieving the gun from his SUV, contradicting his claim that an unknown person gave him the weapon. This discrepancy between Davis's statements and the physical evidence would likely play a significant role in the prosecution's case against him. The charges against both Davis and Destiny highlighted the complex legal and moral questions raised by the case. While few would question a daughter's desire to protect her mother or seek justice for her killing, the law requires careful consideration of how that desire is expressed and what consequences follow. For Destiny, the emotional trauma of watching her mother die was compounded by the legal consequences of her own actions. At just 20 years old, she faced serious criminal charges that could significantly impact her future, all stemming from a split-second decision made in the worst moment of her life. For Destiny, the prosecution would need to balance the emotional circumstances that drove her actions against the legal requirement to hold individuals accountable for endangering public safety. The death of Tamara Plummer represents more than just another tragic headline from Memphis. Her story illuminates the impossible choices faced by parents and communities where violence has become a daily reality, and the devastating consequences when protective instincts collide with deadly force. Tamara's decision to intervene in the street fight stemmed from the same maternal instincts that had driven her throughout her life as a mother of four. She saw young people engage in violence outside her home and felt compelled to act. Her choice to fire warning shots reflected a calculated attempt to end the conflict without causing harm, a decision that tragically backfired when it escalated rather than defuse the situation. The death of Tamara Plummer should serve as a call to action for anyone concerned about the impact of gun violence on American communities. Her life had value. Her children deserved to grow up with their mother, and her unborn child deserved the chance to live. Honoring her memory means working to ensure that other families don't face similar tragedies. What steps do you think communities can take to prevent conflicts like this from turning deadly? Have you seen successful violence prevention programs in your area? Share your ideas in the comments and subscribe for more stories that examine the real-world impact of crime on families and communities. The case of Tamara Plummer continues to work its way through the Memphis court system, with Jayon Davis facing first-degree murder charges and Destiny Plummer charged with reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. The legal proceedings will ultimately determine the criminal consequences for their actions on that tragic March evening. But no verdict can restore the life that was lost or undo the trauma inflicted on the surviving family members. For Tamara's remaining children, the loss of their mother represents a tragedy that will affect them for the rest of their lives. They must now grow up without the woman who had dedicated her life to protecting and providing for them. The unborn child she was carrying will never have the chance to experience the love and care that Tamara would have provided. The Quinn Avenue neighborhood where the shooting occurred continues to grapple with the aftermath of the violence. Residents must find ways to move forward while honoring Tamara's memory and working to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in their community.
According to court documents, this shooting started with a fight between kids, caught on camera and posted to social media. It ended with one person dead and two adults behind bars. A neighbor who asked not to be identified told Fox 13 parents got involved to defend their children during the brawl and brought weapons with them. One man is seen marching toward the fighting children with a machete in his hand. Meanwhile, Tamara Plummer in the neon green shirt is seen already in the middle of the fight with a pistol in her hand. That's when Jayon Davis, wearing the gray shirt, is seen pointing a gun at her and opening fire. Davis is charged with first-degree murder. Court documents say he was already a convicted felon. But the shooting wasn't over. Seconds later, another woman opens fire. Court documents allege that was Tamara Plummer's daughter, Destiny Plummer. Davis and two others were struck by gunfire, but Plummer told investigators that gun went off accidentally. She's charged with reckless endangerment and is out on bond.
Judge Karen Massey ensuring Gian Davis understood why his case was pushed back another 2 weeks.
Your attorney needs to review some videos.
But things became uneasy when the loved ones of Tamara Plummer, the woman he's accused of shooting and killing, were unable to control their emotions. Take a listen. It was hard to make out everything they said, but seeing them storm out spoke volumes. We followed, but the family of Tamara Plummer were only interested in speaking with the attorney representing the deceased victim's daughter, Destiny Plummer, who has also been charged following the street fight 11 days ago here along Quinn Avenue. The 20-year-old who did not go in front of the judge Monday is charged with reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon, accused of shooting in the direction of Davis during this midday melee. Back here in court Monday, there was a different kind of disturbance. You can see Davis exchanging a glance in the direction of the victim's family, who in turn stared him down before exchanging a few choice words.
Tamara Plummer's story serves as a powerful reminder that behind every crime statistic lies a human being whose life had meaning, whose death leaves an irreplaceable void, and whose family must somehow find a way to continue despite their devastating loss. She was a businesswoman, a mother, a protector, and a member of a community that needed her presence. Her legacy should not be defined solely by the circumstances of her death, but by the life she lived and the children she raised. Tamara spent 39 years building relationships, creating stability for her family, and contributing to her community. Those contributions matter, and they deserve to be remembered alongside the tragic events that took her life. As we conclude this examination of Tamara Plummer's story, we're reminded that true crime is not entertainment. It's the documentation of real human suffering and loss. Every case we cover represents families forever changed by violence, communities struggling to heal, and the ongoing challenge of building a society where people like Tamara can live safely while protecting those they love. The fight for justice continues in courtrooms and communities across America, driven by the memory of victims like Tamara Plummer and the determination of those left behind to ensure their deaths were not in vain.